Welcome to the Deep Dive podcast channel.
Hello.
Ever find yourself sort of caught in that loop of negative self-talk? Or maybe wondering why certain comments or, reactions from people sting quite so much?
It's a common experience, definitely.
Yeah, well, today we're diving into a set of ideas that, honestly, they seem quite simple on the surface, but they offer this really powerful framework for, well, transforming those exact experiences.
We're looking at Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements.
Exactly. And exploring how these principles, being impeccable with your word, not taking things personally, not making assumptions, and always doing your best, how they can actually carve out pathways to heal emotional wounds and cultivate more inner peace.
Think of it as a lens, really. A way to look at your inner world and your interactions with maybe more clarity and certainly more kindness.
And if this exploration resonates with you as we get into it, we genuinely love for you to subscribe, maybe share your thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, we're always interested to hear what insights come up for people listening.
Definitely. So let's recap quickly. The four agreements, you mentioned them.
Right. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. And always do your best.
And Ruiz roots these in Toltec wisdom, right? But they're presented less as strict rules and more invitations.
Exactly. Invitations to freedom, really. Choices we can make to live with more integrity, kindness, courage, both towards ourselves and, how we relate to others.
Okay, let's start with that first one then. Be impeccable with your word. It sounds straightforward, but there's depth there.
There really is. And I think the first place it points us is inwards, our internal dialogue.
Right. Not just what we say out loud.
Precisely. We often have this inner critic running commentary, sometimes quite harshly, without us even fully clocking its impact.
Like those automatic thoughts, I'm so stupid, or I always mess this up.
Exactly those. And when those are on repeat, they really do reinforce old emotional wounds. They keep us stuck in patterns that hurt. It's like pouring salt in the wound, but with our own thoughts.
Oof. Yeah. So being impeccable here means flipping that script, talking to ourselves differently.
It does. It means consciously choosing kindness and compassion, even for ourselves, maybe especially for ourselves. Shifting from, I'm so stupid, to maybe, okay, I made a mistake, I'm learning, or from no one could love me to, I'm worthy of compassion right now.
It's not just about slapping on a positive thought, though, is it? It feels deeper.
Oh, much deeper. It's about fundamentally changing the relationship you have with yourself. There's real impact. Self-compassion, for example, isn't just nice. It can actually lower stress hormones like cortisol. It changes our physiology.
Okay, so give us an example, like the Laura one you mentioned earlier.
Right. So Laura forgets this meeting, and her immediate inner reaction is just brutal self-attack. You idiot, how could you? Just tearing herself down.
Been there.
Right. But then she catches it, and she consciously decides to respond differently. She says to herself something like, okay, that happened. It's okay. I'm doing my best here. I can figure out how to fix this without hating myself for it.
And that choice, that small act of redirection, that's the seed.
That's the seed of healing. Each time you choose a word of self-kindness over self-attack, you're planting something new. You're breaking that old agreement of self-criticism.
Powerful. Okay, let's move to the second one. Don't take anything personally. This one. This feels like a big hurdle for a lot of people.
It is. It's arguably one of the most challenging, but also potentially the most liberating.
Why is it so hard? Is it tied into that tendency, especially if there's past hurt or trauma, to kind of internalize blame? To think, oh, they acted that way, it must be because of me.
That's a huge part of it, yes. Trauma, in particular, can really wire us to believe that others' reactions are a direct commentary on our worth. If someone pulls away, we think, I'm not enough. If someone's angry, it must be my fault.
But Rui's point is, that's usually not the case.
Overwhelmingly not the case. He argues that what others say and do is almost always about them. It's a reflection of their own reality, their own wounds, their fears, their beliefs, their agreements. It's rarely, if ever, an objective statement about your inherent value.
So if someone's sharp with me, it's more likely about their bad morning than about me personally.
Much more likely. Or their own insecurities, or something totally unrelated happening in their life, understanding this isn't about becoming cold or uncaring.
Right, not detached.
Not detached. It's about creating a healthy emotional boundary, recognizing that's their stuff, this is my stuff, my worth isn't determined by their mood or their opinion.
Like the Jason example, his friend cancels plans.
Yeah, and his gut reaction is, see, I don't matter. But then he catches himself and thinks, hang on, This probably isn't about my worth. People get busy, things come up. I can still value the friendship without making this cancellation mean something negative about me.
And that letting go, that refusal to personalize, that's where the freedom is.
That's exactly where the freedom lies. Releasing that heavy burden of needing to interpret everything as being about you.
Okay, which leads quite naturally into the third agreement. Don't make assumptions.
It does follow logically, doesn't it? If we understand others' actions aren't usually about us, then our assumptions about their motives are likely off base too.
And our minds love to assume
That's
things,
right.
to fill in the blanks, especially when things feel uncertain.
Oh, constantly. It's like a survival mechanism gone a bit haywire sometimes. We crave certainty, so our brain just makes stuff up to create a story. They haven't texted back, they must be mad at me, or my boss looked at me funny, I must be in trouble.
Yeah, and those assumptions, often based on zero real evidence, can cause so much anxiety and, frankly, damage relationships.
Absolutely. So Ruiz's advice here is incredibly practical, though not always easy to follow in the moment.
Which is?
Ask questions, communicate clearly, seek to actually understand what's going on, rather than relying on your own guesswork.
It sounds so simple, just ask.
It does, but think about how often we don't. We let fear or pride or just habit stop us. Think of Elise. Her partner seems distant. Her assumption machine kicks in. He's pulling away. He doesn't love me anymore.
Uh-oh. Spiral time?
Could be. But instead, she takes a breath and she asks, gently, maybe, but directly, "Hey, I've noticed you seem a bit quiet lately. Is everything okay between us?"
And what happened?
Turns out he was completely overwhelmed with stress from work. It had absolutely nothing to do with her or the relationship.
Wow. So asking created connection, whereas assuming would have just built a wall of misunderstanding.
Precisely. Clarity versus confusion. Okay, on to the fourth. Always do your best.
Now, this one can sometimes get twisted into perfectionism, can it? Like you have to be 100% all the time.
It absolutely can, and that's a really important distinction to make, especially when we're talking about healing or recovery. Ruiz is clear. Your best is not a fixed standard. It changes.
Changes based on what?
Based on everything. How you slept if you're feeling sick, what stresses you're under, your emotional state. Your best on a day you feel energetic and healthy is going to look very different from your best on a day you're feeling low or overwhelmed.
So it's about recognizing that fluctuation and being okay with it.
And being compassionate with it. That's key. Self-compassion is woven through this agreement. It's about acknowledging where you are right now and doing the best you can from that place without judgment.
Like Maya missing her workouts.
Yeah. The old pattern might be harsh self-criticism. You failed again, you're so lazy, which often leads to just giving up entirely.
Right. Shame isn't a great motivator long term.
Not at all. But practicing this agreement, she could say, okay, I miss those workouts. Today, my energy is low. My best today is maybe just a short, gentle walk and letting myself rest properly. And that is enough.
That feels so much kinder and probably more sustainable.
Absolutely. In healing, consistency of self-kindness is far more powerful than trying to maintain some unsustainable intensity.
Okay, so we have these 4 agreements. How do they specifically help when someone is dealing with the after effects of trauma? Because trauma really messes with our core beliefs, doesn't it?
It profoundly does. Trauma can sever our sense of connection to ourselves, to others, to safety. It can deeply distort our perception of the world, making it feel inherently dangerous, and it entrenches these really painful survival beliefs, often about not being worthy or needing to be constantly vigilant.
So how do the agreements counteract that?
Well, each one gently challenges those trauma-based patterns. Be impeccable with your word, especially towards yourself, starts rebuilding that fundamental self-trust that trauma often shatters. You learn you can rely on your own inner voice to be kind, not critical.
Okay, and don't take things personally.
That fosters emotional resilience. It helps create that buffer so you're not constantly absorbing others' negativity or interpreting neutral events as threatening. It detaches your worth from external chaos.
Makes sense. Don't make assumptions.
That directly strengthens relational safety. Instead of assuming threat or rejection based on past experiences, you practice seeking clarity, which can slowly rebuild trust in communication and connection.
And always do your best with that self-compassion piece.
That nurtures unconditional self-worth. It teaches you to value yourself based on your consistent effort and self-kindness, regardless of outcome or performance, countering that deep feeling of not good enough that trauma often leaves behind.
So they're not like quick fixes.
Definitely not. They're practices, daily, moment-to-moment practices of returning to yourself, of choosing a different way to relate to your thoughts, your feelings, and the world around you. Gentle anchors, like you said earlier.
Can we look some really specific, like everyday examples, how these shifts might play out?
Sure. Let's say a colleague speaks to you in a really cold tone.
Okay. Old reaction might be immediate self-blame. What did I do wrong? They must be mad at me. And then you maybe avoid them or replay it endlessly.
Right. The new practice, using the agreements, might involve a pause, a breath, and a gentle reminder. Okay, don't take this personally. Their tone reflects their day, their stress, whatever's going on with them. It doesn't necessarily define my value or mean I did anything wrong. Maybe even don't assume. If it continues and feels important, I could calmly ask if everything's okay later.
Big difference. Okay, another one, forgetting an important appointment.
Oh, yeah, old pattern. Harsh self-attack. I'm such an idiot. I can't do anything right. Shame spiral.
Oh, new practice.
Impeccable word, first to yourself. Okay, I messed up. I am human. Mistakes happen. Then impeccable word outwardly. How can I repair this? Maybe call, apologize sincerely, reschedule, and always do your best. My best right now involves fixing this mistake kindly. No self-flagellation required.
What about something like your partner taking ages to text back?
The dreaded slow text response. Old pattern. Assume the worst. They're losing interest. They're mad. They're ignoring me. Maybe you withdraw or send passive-aggressive texts.
Yeah, making assumptions galore.
Exactly. New practice. Pause. Breathe. Don't take it personally. They could just be busy, phone died, talking to someone else. Don't make assumptions. Maybe send a gentle follow-up later if needed, or just trust they'll reply when they can. Do your best involves managing your own anxiety without projecting it.
It's really about these small conscious shifts, isn't it? Repeated over time.
That's exactly it. They gradually reshape your whole inner landscape, your automatic reactions. It takes practice, lots of practice.
Let's talk about the inner critic for a moment. That voice seems central to a lot of this.
It really is. For many people, especially those with difficult pasts, that inner critic is loud and relentless.
Where does it come from? Is it just us being hard on ourselves?
Often, it's like a collection of old, outdated agreements we made, usually unconsciously, often in childhood or in environments that felt unsafe. It's internalized voices, maybe critical parents, bullies, harsh teachers, combined with beliefs we formed to try and make sense of difficult experiences.
Beliefs like.
I'm too much. I'm not enough. I have to be perfect to be loved. My needs are unimportant. If something bad happens, it's my fault. These become the ammo for the inner critic.
So how do the four agreements help dismantle that critic? It sounds pretty entrenched.
They challenge its very foundation. By practicing be impeccable with your word, especially internally, you stop feeding the critic its usual diet of self-attack. You actively choose compassion instead.
You replace the old agreement with a new one.
Exactly. By not taking things personally, you stop giving the critic external evidence to use against you. See? They do think you're stupid. By not making assumptions, you stop letting the critic spin fearful stories based on thin air. And by always doing your best with compassion, you undermine the critic's impossible demands for perfection.
So you're essentially replacing internalized abuse with internalized compassion and truth.
That's a beautiful way to put it, yes.
Okay, this links into boundaries too, right? Especially be impeccable with your word.
Absolutely. Being impeccable isn't just about being kind, it's also about being truthful. And sometimes the truth involves saying no, or expressing a need, or drawing a line.
Which can feel really hard if you're used to people-pleasing or avoiding conflict.
Very hard. But being impeccable means speaking your truth with clarity and, ideally, with love, both for yourself and the other person. Setting a boundary is an act of self-respect. It's saying, this is what I need, or this is not okay with me.
Could you give examples of what that looks like? Boundaries rooted in this idea.
Sure. It could be saying no to a request without feeling the need to over-explain or apologize profusely. It could be clearly stating your need for space or time or help without shame. It could be refusing to absorb someone else's anger or anxiety, recognizing it's theirs to manage, not yours to carry.
So it's not about being aggressive, it's about being clear and self-honoring.
Exactly. And interestingly, while it can feel scary, speaking your truth and setting clear boundaries often leads to more authentic intimacy in relationships, not less. People know where they stand with you.
Okay, so all these practices, the kinder practices, the kinding self-talk, releasing blame, seeking understanding, setting boundaries, honoring your effort, they all contribute to what? Rewiring self-worth.
Yes, precisely. Healing and building self-worth isn't usually one big lightning bolt moment. It's the accumulation of these small, different choices you make every single day and how you relate to yourself and the world.
Like casting votes.
That's a great analogy. Each time you choose self-compassion over criticism, each time you refuse to personalize, each time you ask instead of assuming, each time you honor your best for that day, you're casting a vote for a new way of being. You're literally rewiring neural pathways towards greater self-acceptance and worthiness.
And this leads to more emotional resilience you mentioned earlier.
It does. As you practice these agreements more consistently, you build this inner muscle. When life throws you curveballs, because it will, you find you bounce back a bit quicker.
So you don't get stuck in the mud for as long.
Exactly. You might still feel the sting of disappointment or hurt, but you have tools now. You can soothe yourself. You can reality check your thoughts. You can choose how to respond rather than just reacting from old wounds. That's resilience.
So resilience isn't about being bulletproof.
Not at all. It's not about never hurting. It's about knowing deep down that you can support yourself through the hurt, that you have your own back. That's profound self-trust.
Now, we need to be realistic. This sounds great, but applying it perfectly all the time, probably not going to happen.
Absolutely not. And it's crucial to acknowledge that. You will slip up. You'll take something personally. You'll make an assumption. You'll beat yourself up sometimes. That's part of being human.
So what do we do then when we inevitably mess up?
That's where the fourth agreement comes back in full force, combined with the first. Always do your best. And be impeccable with your word to yourself about the slip-up. This means meeting the mistake not with more criticism, but with compassion.
So the goal isn't perfection. It's quicker, kinder recovery.
You nailed it. It's about noticing sooner when you've fallen into an old pattern, and then gently, kindly, bringing yourself back to the practice. Oops, there I go, assuming again. Okay, deep breath. What question could I ask instead? Or, wow, I really took that personally. Let me remind myself, this might not be about me.
So mistakes aren't failures. They're practice opportunities, opportunities for more self-compassion.
Exactly. Reframe them. Each slip-up is a chance to strengthen that muscle of self-kindness.
It's about integration then, not perfection. Progress, not punishment.
Beautifully put. Integration is messy. It's nonlinear. Some days you'll feel like you're acing it. Other days it'll feel impossible. That's the reality of growth. But the overall trajectory with persistent, compassionate practice is towards greater freedom and peace. You're not failing. You're becoming.
Wow. Okay, so drawing inspiration from the four agreements, we've really taken a deep dive today into how these principles, being impeccable with your word, not taking things personally, not making assumptions, always doing your best, can be such potent tools on that journey towards inner freedom and healing.
Mm-hmm. We hope this exploration has offered some valuable perspectives, maybe sparked some reflections for you.
Yeah. And just to touch on a couple of questions that often come up, we talked about trauma recovery. So yes, these agreements can be incredibly helpful there, particularly in rebuilding that self-trust and helping regulate emotions.
Absolutely. And when that inner critic inevitably pipes up, because it will, the invitation is always to meet it with gentleness, with self-compassion. Not fighting it necessarily, but choosing not to buy into its harsh narrative.
Right. Okay, so here's a little something for you, the listener, to maybe carry with you. A provocative thought, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Consider this. What one small agreement with yourself could you consciously practice starting today? Just one small shift that you sense might bring you even a tiny bit more peace or a little more self-acceptance.
Just one small step. That's often where the biggest journeys begin.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We truly hope it sparks further reflection and maybe some positive shifts in your life.
It's been a pleasure. Until our next conversation.
Until next time.